During the early 90s, when digital CDs started to become more accessible, engineers started to practice making music as loud as possible. This was appealing to many artists and record labels, as they assumed listeners would buy louder music. This is yet to be proven. Limiting is basically a type of compression. A brick wall limiter can have a ratio of infinity to 1 with a look-ahead function, while a standard limiter can have a ratio of 10 to 1 without a look-ahead function. Brick wall limiters are usually the last plug-in on a master bus to prevent any peaks from spiking past 0 dB and possibly damaging sound equipment and hearing. The scenario of creating loud mixes gave birth to the first digital limiter with the look-ahead feature, which basically means it analyzes the incoming signal before it reaches the limiter's threshold. This was said to be the Waves L1, which was made by Mai Sashua and the late Michael Gazon. This was the first time audio engineers were able to maximize records without worrying about passing 0 dB and digitally clipping their audio. One of the first bands to utilize the brick wall limiter was on Oasis's album What's the Story, Morning Glory, and reached average levels of -8 RMS. This was never heard of before. Let's take a look at some of the free alternatives to the L1 and test them out. Use these tools with caution and without ego. What is up, everyone? It is your boy Farai, and today we're going to be looking at some brick wall limiters. Hopefully all of these are brick wall limiters, as we are looking at types of plugins that we can use to pretty much maximize our sound, as well as make sure that we don't head past 0 dB. In today's example, we're going to be using -3 as our 0 dB point, so just pretend -3 is 0, as I just want to retain the best quality for YouTube's sake. I don't really need to head to -3, so all of these plugins we'll be using will be set to -3. And yeah, we've also, don't mind me just opening up this plugin, hopefully we don't lag. We'll be using this pretty much pure analyzer system by, I forget who it is, Flux. I remember purchasing this. This was a great buy. I've pretty much rooted this. If we just look at my input output, you can just skip ahead if you don't care about this. But basically, since I have two outputs, I've got one rooted to my main speakers, and then one that's rooted back into my interface, into channel 7 and 8. And that's how I can kind of get, a very slight comparison. I mean, as you can see, I'm using my voice. I'm limiting my voice to -3. And as you can see, the limiter is doing its job. So as you can see on my side, I am using the FL limiter, which is set to -3. I'm doing all sorts of funny things, but that's another video. So yeah, pretty much our source material today is one of these beats that I have. Excuse me. This is one of the beats that I have. We'll just give it a quick listen, check out the waveform. As you can see, 0 would be the edge of the, where that little green bar begins. So it's very important to export your beats without, exceeding 0 or even exceeding -3. As it's just a waste of headroom. You won't really be able to maximize as much as you'd want to, especially if you're sending it off to a mastering engineer. They'll just end up turning it down. So because I hadn't had this idea in mind when I exported this beat, I've turned it down by about 6.3 decibels just so we can get a good level. So yeah, the first thing that I would say if you want to achieve a loud mix, I'm not really a mastering engineer, but you'll see in today's mix that the snares are the loudest. So as you can see there. We've got quite loud snares. And yeah, we'll just give that a listen and see what is up. So it's pretty quiet. So pretty quiet, -9. And when the kick drums hit in, still -9. So yeah, we got tons of headroom we can go. We've pretty much got 6 decibels here, right? 9 -3 is 6, so that's what we'll be aiming for. So the first one we got off here from, I think this was from KVR, is the 4L. We'll test it out right now. Let's check it out. And I can remember, before I even talk about this, I remember this is a very strange interface. You'll notice that the threshold, the makeup and the threshold are kind of in relation to each other. You can just check it out for yourself. You see, this will smash without doing anything really. But the makeup you have to apply. So I remember setting it to about 60% to get it to -3. So there we go. And now we'll set the threshold and we get loudness. not too bad. So yeah, 75 is around -3, so obviously 100 would be 0. No reason to go there today. Get a bit of smashing. That's pretty cool though that you can zoom in and out. It's pretty sick. Release time. Longer release time is longer limiting. So we'll go back to the bass, let's say that. You see that takes way longer to get back to not quick release. Benefits of digital. So yeah, all in all, it's not a bad limit. It's pretty transparent. I just don't really like the fact that, you know, we don't have real values, 75%. You know, what is that really? Is 100 0? I mean, you know, other than that, not bad. So yeah, I give that a decent rating. Let's check out this Arada's Maximizer 5. I personally like this. I mean, look at the logo. It just looks like a death metal Maximizer. So yeah, let's check it out. Okay, so we start off at -9, and it looks like... Oh yeah, I should probably talk about all these before I start doing stuff. So output basically means what is the maximum output level that you want. And for if you were doing a normal studio quality song, you'd want to do -0.10, -0.20, -0.30. If you really want to be safe, I would prefer you go for this. And our maximize is pretty much our input gain. Character, I guess, is really dependent on the material at hand. I didn't really read the manual, so I don't know what each characteristic would, or you know, what 0.1 means and what 1 means, but I'd assume that it has a longer release on the longer version. And here we have, okay, no, that's fast release, slow release. So yeah, let's check it out. So we'll set it to -3, -3, -3.10 is cool. Let's crank it up. See, I just like the way this sounds, especially on the bass. Whoops. Really nice, I like it. So we check it out on our... What? And we're clipping, so this is not a true... Oh, because I'm speaking. Yeah, so I'm just gonna mute my voice. Yeah, so as you can see, this isn't a true peak limiter. As you can see, it allows certain peaks to go across -3.4, which was our output. So yeah, this has got a nice sound, but I would suggest using something like the fruity limiter. So let's do that. So we've got this set to -3.1, which is -3.10 over here, and we won't use this one's output. We'll just use this one, and you'll see the difference when you actually have something that is capable of catching all of the peaks. True peak limiter. Let's check it out. Mute myself. Don't affect the signal. So yeah, we are getting quite a bit of clipping. Let's actually set it to 0 and just check if we really are getting clipping. You must remember that this, this is really dependent on the preamps in my audio interface. So it's not going to be to the exact digital unit because we are going analog out. But yeah, let's just check it out again. Set it to -0.2. Let's see if we do get 0.1 plus clipping is fine, really. It's not the worst thing, especially on the snares, because the snares are really loud. So yeah, we get a pretty loud RMS, but as you can see, the These snares are clipping, these snares are being caught by the limiter. So yeah, not a bad limiter plugin right there, the Arades maximizer. So yeah, let's check out something else. So we got the DD limiter over here. Let's check that out. You can get quite extreme loudnesses with this, especially with the clip function. That's similar to FL's saturation function. It pretty much just creates a bit of clipping. And the signal doesn't really pass that, but loud peaks like the snare drum obviously will still pass. So yeah, let's check this one out. So crank up the input. But yeah, firstly set our threshold to minus 3.2, that's fine. So nothing is passing there. Fast release or fairly fast release. Let's check our so yeah, as you can see that we get to -3, but we don't get as loud results as the Azaraz. So yeah, that's pretty much the difference between certain limiters, is they are capable of, getting a bit more loudness out of whatever sound you have. It's really just project dependent. We'll try the clipping function and check that out. So we're allowed to clip at, let's just say -3.2. Hopefully I can use control to get a nice, yeah, so shift key allows me to get a nice 30. So we go for -3.1. Let's check that out. You can hear the kick drums a lot more clip, but it does the same thing, you know what I mean? But as you can see, it's allowing that that snare to like pop really past the threshold that we'd set. So yeah, this one's okay. This one's a bit more transparent sounding than the other one. Let's A/B them quickly. Let's just get back to where we were. Use the shift key. So we'll go for 7 on each. Let's check that out. Yeah, there we go. So hard it gets there. Okay. We're not really hitting, so around 10. And we can kind of hear they do different things to certain parts of these frequency range. The kick drum is probably the loudest peak. So the kick is probably the first affected. Snare drums you can really limit quite a bit without really hearing too much of a noticeable sound, because generally a snare drum is such a loud kind of sound that your ear doesn't really hear that whole sound in a way. That has to do with the whole Fletcher-Munson curve business and whatnot. So yeah, let's check out the Maxwell Smart. This one I personally love the most. That's why I left it for last in terms of this little batch here. And I'll show you why. Let's set our threshold to -3.1. There we go. And just use the smooth function. Let's check it out. Very simple plugin, almost like the Waves L1. You pull the threshold down, you set the ceiling, all good. Whoops. Let's put it all the way up, yeah. I mean, look at that. I can crank the signal so loud. And the smooth limiter just peaks it nicely, So let's go for normal. Smooth is perfect. So yeah, pretty much my interface clipping, or let's just say hitting -2.8 and not hitting -3.1, is a perfect example of what will happen on a lot of different type of equipment. So if you try and maximize your song as loud as possible to 0, it's actually going to clip. That's why it's very important to make sure that you don't fully destroy your song. If you listen to music on a cell phone speaker, you'll hear a lot of the time the music is actually clipping. A lot of the music is actually clipping. You hear the snares clipping, the vocals are definitely clipping. Those are usually the loudest elements, especially in hip hop. But yeah, you get really used to that sound of soft clipping, that you kind of like it, and that's why you might tend to make your music like that as well. But yeah, definitely Maxwell Smart, great plugin. I give this one the 10 out of 10. Quite a bit of latency on it, but other than that, great plugin. Generally, when I do a bit of my own quote-unquote mastering, I don't use one plugin to boost the whole level. You know what I mean? I'll use many different plugins. I might use a bit of EQ plugin, output gain, before actually reaching the master limiter. So in this method, I'm going to show you how to set up your... So Fruity limiter is one of my favorite limiters. It is a true peak limiter. So we set it to minus 3.1. But we'll use basically this instead of the gain that FL has, just to get a more gritty sound. You know what I'm saying? So I'll show you the difference between the two. So we'll go back to 6 decibel. I think I'm doing about a 6 because we're doing a bit of compression, so you can't really add those two numbers together, but let's go. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool, but very neutral. But when we turn this on, hear how much more fat that sounds, you know what I mean? I mean, that sounds awesome. I love it. I'm gonna start using this plugin, even though the GUI starts freezing. They are old plugins. Analog sound. You see, a lot drier. This is awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much it. One last little fun thing that I have to show is we got this fun plugin here by, I forget who. I think it's Run Be a Run. And yeah, shout out to him. This is a really fun plugin. I'm going to use this in future. And this is pretty much what your mix would sound like in a nasty club. As usual, all hip-hop mixes, house mixes are played in clubs. Beware, this is going to be really loud. So turn your speakers down now. And here we go. Nasty. Yeah. Sounds like a car, like my friend's car. That literally is my friend's car. Hey, yo, Shane, wanna come out here? Yeah, anyway, I'll leave links to all of these in the description. And have a good one. I hope you learned something. Like and subscribe, recommend types of videos you'd like to see in future. And have a good one. Peace out.